So, okay, you somehow get from teaching sixth grade science to becoming a paralegal. Where in there do you start writing?
Yeah, so I started writing so I actually started writing or taking my writing seriously and really writing when I was teaching in Houston, Texas, because my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, said to me one day I was complaining about my job, and I loved my students. I actually really loved being a teacher, but I felt very underqualified for the position that I was in. I was really tired. I didn't feel like I had adequate, because I mean, of course, I hadn't gone to school to become a teacher, and I hadn't gone to school to teach this specific curriculum of science. And I have so much respect now for teachers. That's what I always the first thing I tell them on school visits, because that is the most difficult job I ever had. And I was complaining about how difficult this job was. And my boyfriend, who's now my husband, said, well, you always say that you're a writer, but I've never seen you write anything. At the time, that made me so mad. But it turns out that anger can be a really good jumping off point to start. And so that night I sat down, I started writing, and I'm sure kind of there's a moment you start, and once you start, it kind of goes from there. And so I just really started trying to write a book, and I would wake up really early in the morning and drive to my school way before anyone else got there, and would write in my classroom when it was really quiet. And so I think even now, when I'm lucky enough to be a full-time writer, I'm still a morning writer, and I think it's because of that habit of that's when I used to squeeze in my writing time, was early morning. I'd always wake up before work. And then I applied and I got into a low residency MFA program at Lesley University. And while I was in this program, the program was well suited because I didn't have to leave my job as a teacher, because you only go for a handful of days throughout the year to actual residency, and the rest of the time you're working on your own work at home. And that was really great for me, again, in learning how to carve out time for my writing within the confines of my regular life. I think so many people who I've had friends who have gotten to do like traditional MFA programs, which are so wonderful, and I'm like deeply jealous of people who had just 2 years to live in a writing community. But I think one of the roundabout advantages of the low residency model for me in particular was I learned how to have to make space for my writing within the I guess the normal routine of my life with my job. And while I was in the program, my boyfriend, who is now in this story become my fiance, got a different job in Austin. And so we moved. I left my teaching job and we moved to Austin. And once I was in Austin, I got the job as the world's worst paralegal, but I was a paralegal.
And then, so you start writing, you're writing in the morning, you're in the office. I'm assuming when you're in the classroom, you've got the lights off so another teacher doesn't walk by, see you, and like, oh, wonderful, I can go talk to Jasmine real fast before the students get here and suck up all her writing time. I don't know if you had that problem. I had that problem with day jobs where I tried to go early and write, and people are like, oh, wonderful, you're at work early. Now we can talk about work stuff.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, once I was a paralegal, I would write at home before going in to work early for that reason. I think something about having like your own classroom maybe made that boundary easier. And also I would get there so early, like before the sun rose early to this classroom, because it was the school that I taught at was really far away from where I lived in Houston. And so traffic was really bad that I had to leave really early anyways. And school started so early that basically the school started to come alive, I think around the same time a lot of the other teachers got there, because we did like a breakfast program at my school. So my homeroom kids, I served like breakfast through the school to them every morning. And that was kind of like the routine, is that's when I knew it was time to like shut down for the day was when the cafeteria staff would come by with the breakfast for my homework.
Could you sneak in, like, I don't know, on teacher prep periods or special extra if the kids go to?
Like I always wanted to, but you know, I felt, like I said, I felt so overwhelmed with being a teacher. I think sometimes what people don't understand about teaching is there's so much work outside of the classroom. So you're constantly planning your lessons, but then there's also all the grading and all the submitting of the grades and everything. And so I was always feeling like I needed my prep to teach myself the lesson that I needed to teach the kids the next day. Because like I said, I felt very unqualified for the position that I held while I was a teacher. And so, but I do have memories of, I got my first smartphone while I was a teacher, a couple months into teaching. And I had like sent my first, like, maybe this is the wrong time. I remember getting my smartphone and somewhere in there got overeager and sent out like a first type of like query letter. And I remember always like checking my phone, hoping like I was gonna hear some kind of news that was going to change my life, which certainly did not happen while I was teaching. But I have memories of doing that during my prep period, or having like these like fantasies like in between the bell switches, looking at my phone and being like, oh, I'm going to get writing news that's going to change my life. And not yet, you know, it took longer than that. But I have that memory of like sneaking in to look at things.